could have all the good intentions in the world, but if you don't know how to work with your nervous system, with your body, with your emotions, you're going to get hijacked. Your nervous system, your body responds 10 times faster than your mind does. So in 0.2 seconds, your body is responding. In 2 seconds, it reaches your conscious awareness.
I'm going to build a business and I'm going to create safety and I'm going to make sure I have money and I'm going to make sure we're taken care of. And then it was like a 5-year, so focused on that when I noticed something was off, it was, oh crap, I've lived like this the last 5 years and I had no idea anything was wrong.
When you are yourself, your higher self, you're in the driver's seat. Your nervous system is calm, you're regulated. Then something happens. And if you don't have the tools to feel through it, the capacity to be with it, you are basically telling your nervous system, this isn't safe.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to this week's episode of the Expand and Evolve podcast. I'm so excited because we have a guest joining us this week, Anat Peri. I'm so excited for the listeners to hear from you. I've known you for a little while now because you've done a bunch of calls for Danny. And so I've gotten to know some of the work that you have done in helping us. I think it was our love story. What did you have us recreate that time?
Rewrite your love script. Yeah.
Okay. So that was my first introduction to you. And then we were able to listen to you at the relationship intensive, and everything you shared about those patterns, I was just like, oh, bing, bing, bing. Like it was so wildly helpful. And so I'm so excited that we're going to have this conversation. If you maybe just want to introduce yourself a little bit in regards to what you do for listeners, you can probably get the drift. Like she works around relationships and love stories and all the things and rewriting that within yourself. And so I'm just so excited to have this conversation. But if you want to just introduce yourself a little and then we can jump into it.
Sure. Thanks. Well, I am Anat, and I'm an inner child expert, and get into what the heck that means. I'm also a keynote speaker and a mentor for coaches and healers who want to learn my method. So I train them in my method. I have a certification program, and I've been doing this for 10 years, and I wasn't always like this. And, what had me start my business 10 years ago was after experiencing my own transformation, deep healing, and the sense of inner peace and freedom that I had. I just wanted that inner peace for other people. And then uh, what's the word for it? Snowballed from there in the most beautiful way, because I was never looking to be a teacher and have a method. And yet here I am. But I will say that prior to these 10 years, I spent 10 years looking for that inner peace, trying different modalities. So I'm 45. I've been in this work for 20 years, and it wasn't what it wasn't back then what it is now. We didn't have the access to all the modalities that are available now. And so a lot of my early formative years were spent on therapy or mindset work or NLP work, which was really just trimming the weeds, just on the surface. And I became someone that was really aware of my shit and yet couldn't have the life that I actually desired. As much as I knew and knew that things that needed to change, I couldn't fix it with my mind. And when I met my mentor about 11, 12 years ago was when I experienced, oh, here's what transformation really is. It's not a walk in a park on a beautiful sunny San Diego day, which is where I live. It's a walk through a burning forest and there's dragons to slay, meaning there were things that I felt through for the first time at 34 years old that I never knew were there to feel and acknowledge. The grief that was there, the anger that was there, the sadness, the disappointment, all these emotions that I had from experiences in my younger years, experiences with my upbringing, that I just didn't know how to feel. And really, I didn't know how to feel those because my mom, love her, but growing up, her motto was think positive. Everything. So she didn't realize how many times she would gaslight me by just saying, oh, you're fine. It's no big deal. You're okay. Here, do this, have this, trying to fix things for me and never really teaching me how to be with discomfort, how to hold myself through that. So, excuse me. When I learned that's when I started to feel that freedom. Like when you
Mm-hmm.
know how to nurture every part of yourself, you can stay in the driver's seat of your life.
Mm-hmm.
And when you don't, you have what's called these patterns, these protectors, these bodyguards that you and I will delve into more in this talk, uh, that step in and run your life. And you can become successful in certain areas with them, but other areas, you know, will struggle or struggle. So,
Mm-hmm. Okay, why don't we jump into them? Because then I think it would be so cool to reflect on my own patterns in relationship and kind of share that. And then if you want to dive into how that relates to inner child, because I'm already like connecting dots when you brought up your mom, where I'm like, oh, no wonder I was merging and no wonder I was like this and all these things that I'm like, of course it's connected and we know that. But like you said, you can go try to fix with your mind and try to understand versus really feel somatically what's happening in the body to try to shift those and move through them in a different way.
yeah, absolutely. And I will say that for those listeners, if you're like, well, why can't I just shift it with my mind? Why hasn't that been effective? It's really simple. Your nervous system, your body responds 10 times faster than your mind does. So in 0.2 seconds, your body is responding. In 2 seconds, it reaches your conscious awareness. So you could have all the good intentions in the world, but if you don't know how to work with your nervous system, with your body, with your emotions, you're going to get hijacked every single time. Yeah.
Right. Which is where, again, it's so easy to logically learn and read the books and do the things. And then you're faced with a new relationship and you're like, where is this coming from? Where's this reactivity? Like, because you can know it here and it's completely different to be able to sit with it and have your nervous system shift. That's something different that you can't always know. If you want to jump into those, I think that would be so helpful.
Yeah, so I'll say that these patterns were formed out of a developmental need as children, different developmental needs we had to feel safe, to feel loved, to feel nurtured. And when that wasn't met, not because mom and dad are bad, but because they did the best they could with whatever they were handed, when it's not met, then this pattern gets formed in order to feel a sense of safety. And so, like the first pattern, and I say first meaning the one that's like the youngest, most formative, is like what's called the leaving pattern. And it's common if you can relate to dissociating or feeling like you're like up in the clouds in your imagination, not really hearing the conversation the person's having with you, or that you completely disconnect and dissociate from your body and don't feel like you're even in your body. And this gets formed a lot of,
Me.
yeah, yeah, that's my other one as well, you and I. So this one gets formed anywhere from in utero, like in the last trimester, to birth, to the first few months. It's this not feeling safe to occupy this body and come into the world. So if mom had a traumatic birth, or if she was really anxious and stressed in her third trimester, how would that feel for a baby? Really chaotic. It's like, oh, yeah, no, I don't want to come into this world. I want to stay right here in the spirit world. And so that's where it gets formed a lot of times. And here's the thing I will say right off the bat as you're listening to these, there's gifts to all of them. And when you learn to nurture your inner child, you'll be able to tap more into the gifts of them. Like gifts of the leaving pattern are we have such a strong connection to the spirit world. We can channel, we're a lot of time the artists of the world, the creators of the world. So beautiful gifts in that sense. Then we have the merging pattern, and that one gets formed out of a developmental need for nurturance in the first three
Mm.
years, whether it's physical nurturance, emotional, um, in some way not receiving that, whether it was like I didn't get enough breast milk, to yeah, mom not knowing how to hold me through my big emotions and telling me to just get over it or you're fine. And so we don't learn, therefore, how to nurture ourselves, and so instead, we learn to merge with other people, to feel safe, to feel connected. So This is where my pattern, my primary pattern, and my codependency for many years got formed, and being needy, being clingy, and feeling hopeless,
Mm.
like collapsing into hopelessness a lot when there wasn't someone to save me. Nickname for this one, you could call it the damsel in distress. Yeah. And again,
Mm.
beautiful gifts. We're the healers, we're the lovers of the world. We have so much compassion for other people. Um, and then there's something called merging compensated, which is similar to merging, but it's the same feeling of not enough. But instead of needing it from other people, you become the savior. Well, I'll just give it to everyone,
Mm.
and then I'll feel like I'm enough. So it's like the savior and the damsel in distress both have the same wound of not knowing how to.
Where does that one come from?
It's the
Like
same,
what kind of same? Okay.
same, but maybe mom didn't give you the nurturance because mom didn't even know how to nurture herself. She was a hot
Right.
mess. And you just wanted love and connection with mom. So you decided mom's needs are more important than my needs. So I'm going to do everything I can to help mom feel better so that I feel connection with her.
Okay, I think that's more me than merging.
Yeah.
Merging compensated. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So being the
Okay.
savior, taking care of everyone. And here's the thing. It's a beautiful gift to have, but you got to make sure that you're doing it from a full cup. Is
Mm-hmm.
your cup full? Then great. You're in your superpower. If you're doing it from empty, you're not actually giving. You're taking
Mm-hmm.
in order to just feel safe. At the end of the day, we all just want to feel safe. Pat. Then there's the enduring pattern, which is like at some point you realize you're not mom or dad. You become this little human that wants to figure things out themselves and make their own choices and fall and do things they shouldn't. And if mom and dad are very like strict with you, like you're not supposed to do that, you can't do that, you have to do things this way, and you just want their love, you might learn that I can't do the things that I want, so I'll just endure. I'll just stuff everything down. So, and there's many other reasons that that could come up, but enduring. And then there's the aggressive pattern, which is in some way feeling a sense of betrayal or abandonment, whether it was physically or just emotionally, and feeling like you're alone and it's you against the world and not wanting to be alone. And so the big energy is sometimes just like, see me, hear me, pay attention to me, or I will control the situation by having big energy so that you're here with me. But a lot of times they actually create exactly what they don't want, is that people are scared of them. People don't want to be around them. It's too much, too
Mm.
intense. And again,
Interesting.
beautiful
Yeah.
gifts. The enduring is super grounded. People that you feel very safe and like, wow, they're just so grounding, so calm, so patient. And the aggressive pattern, they're very outgoing. They could be very charming, very charismatic, very competitive, but like in a good way, you know,
Right.
go-getters. And then there's the rigid pattern, which is I am my accomplishments. If mom and dad only praised you when you did things well and maybe put you down when you didn't do things well, you might have learned that I only get love if I perform, if I do things right, if I do things well. And so there's a right way and there's a wrong way to be. And so a lot of times, they're very hard on themselves, very judgmental of themselves, or feeling like it needs to be a particular way, and there isn't wiggle room. And yeah, just rigid. Which two can you relate to?
I know. You know what's funny? I'm like, I feel like at different phases and portions of my life, I've reacted in all of them.
Well,
Right?
so there's a difference.
Like,
There's a difference
okay,
between, imagine if mom was like, my mom is rigid. So I learned rigid behaviorally. So there's
right,
certain moments that I could behave that way because it was modeled to me.
right.
But that's behaviorally versus this is my bodyguard, and when I don't
Okay.
feel safe, this is what I default to. When I feel overwhelmed, when my system is overwhelmed, when I'm stressed, when I'm in a fight, like you want to know what your patterns are? If you're in a relationship, think back to observing yourself in a fight or disagreement with your partner. What shows up? Are you
Mhm.
looking to be right? Oh, something very common with the rigid
Yeah.
pattern is they start to clean a house. I've seen
Mm.
my sister-in-law do this with when
Yeah.
her and my brother get into disagreement. She'll start cleaning while they're fighting because she's trying to create order, something she can
Mhm.
control that calms her system down,
Okay.
or needing to be right or things like that. So
Right.
it's very different of like, oh, this shows up behaviorally. Like, look, I
Yes.
could I could tap into my fire,
All of them.
my anger,
Totally.
all that, but it's not what I default to when I don't feel
Right.
safe.
Yeah. I feel like my default and lack of safety used to be I would leave.
Yeah.
So I lived outside of my body.
Yep. Mhm.
So my default was that's too much. I'm not feeling it. And I think that was my default until I started doing somatic healing and had to come
Yes.
back in my body and reconnect with like, whoa, okay, that's a lot. I can feel this. So I'm like, that would have been my default pretty much my whole life was leaving.
Yeah.
And not leaving situation,
Exactly.
just disconnecting to body. So I wasn't a leaver where I'm like, I'm going to run away and like, oh, this is too much and I'm going to actually physically leave. It was the disconnection to self and body. It was like, this is too much. I everything's great. And I'm literally not feeling like
Exactly.
a wall. That
Exactly.
was my that was for sure my thing. Or like big chaotic fights
Yeah.
was I can be so totally fine through all of it because I'm not feeling any of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally. For me, very similar. I'd say merging is my primary, leaving is my secondary, and leaving if in a big fight with with a boyfriend or something, it'd
Mhm,
be like it's too much. I'd leave the room. Like it's just
mhm,
too much for my system. I'd literally have to go into the other room to like protect myself to feel safe.
mhm.
Yeah. So
'Cause I just remember I would sit there, like, or I would, like, absorb it, but I wasn't there. Oops,
yeah,
sorry.
yeah,
I wasn't there.
yeah.
So it was I almost feel like that for leaving, and then probably the merging
Compl-
compensator where it's like, if there's something unsafe, I'm gonna make it all better for this person,
Yeah,
because then I'll keep the connection,
exactly. Yeah,
and completely disconnected from what I needed. Because who cares about what I need? Let's just make sure their needs are met, so hopefully everything is
yeah,
fine.
yeah. What showed up in your marriage, your previous marriage? What do you think that dynamic was?
I know, I'm trying to think because we were just talking about this, and, like, it was the relationship where I went from toxic relationship, but that's the one I'm thinking about where I had these patterns that I was just saying. And then with this relationship, there was not really any fighting. Life was so busy. We had kids. So there wasn't really conflict. Up until the very end when I realized, oh crap, something's wrong. And I've checked out, which I guess is leaving. Like I had completely disconnected from what was happening in the relationship just in busyness. And then it was just, it hit me like a ton of bricks one day. It was just like, you haven't been feeling any of this, but all of it's been building up. And then it was like a volcano erupted that I couldn't go back. And it was like now it's here and I'm present in it and I have to deal with it. And so it was that's what kickstarted my entire healing journey of like going and finding the help to understand how to connect to my body and like how I was leaving and how to come back to it and all of that. And that's where it was like I self-abandoned time
Yeah,
and time and time again in every single little fight. Because we did, I guess, have a couple fights where they were the ones where it sent me, it was like I was checked out for good. So, like an example, I can remember one fight when I was first pregnant. He was fighting and he like called me a name for the first time, which I
mm,
was couldn't believe it. And then said, like, you can do this on your own. He reacted in anger, which I'd never seen him do before. And that put me into such a threatened state, I feel, that I don't know if I ever came out of it, to be honest. I think I like put this armor on of like, okay. And then I went into full blown, I'm going to build a business and I'm going to create safety and I'm going to make sure I have money and I'm going to make sure we're taken care of. And then it was like a 5 year, like so focused on that, that when I noticed something was off, it was, oh crap, I've lived like this the last
wow.
5 years and I had no idea anything was wrong because it
Yeah,
was all, I
very.
avoided all of it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Very common with, again, the merging pattern to just self-abandon as well.
Yes.
Like, I don't know how to nurture this thing, so I'm not going to nurture myself. I'm just
Yeah.
going to leave. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I want to give everyone the metaphor that I always share, which is like, you're in the driver's seat of your life. So, like, your inner child, what is your inner child? To me, it's twofold. It's the part of you that feels, whether it's I feel happy, I feel horny, I feel excited, or I feel sad, scared, annoyed, lonely. That's the part of you that feels is your inner child. And it's also the part of you that is holding all the past experiences that you learned as a child from mom and dad. And so when you are yourself, your higher self, you're in the driver's seat, right? Your nervous system is calm, you're regulated, you feel connected to yourself, you're excited about what you're doing, you feel alignment. Then something happens, and if you don't have the tools to feel through
Mhm.
it, the capacity to be with it, you are basically telling your nervous system, this isn't safe. I don't know what to do with this, or I don't want to feel this right now. And again, it's not like you're having a out loud conversation. It's so quick, it's so unconscious for most of us that we, like you said, shut down from it. And it's like your bodyguards say, "Uh-oh, she can't drive the car anymore. Let's throw her in the back seat." And they take over.
Mm.
And it seems like you are living the life you want because you feel safe, but it's a false sense of what you want. Like you were saying, you're like, everything was good, everything's great. Yeah, we don't fight. La la la.
Perfect
Everything,
family photos. Everything's great.
yeah. Uh,
But I was unaware. It
yeah,
wasn't like I was intentionally
no.
putting on a front. I literally had no idea.
And
That's how much it overrides your system.
and most people are walking around unaware how much they are not working with their nervous system. They are in survival of
Mhm.
something. And that's why it's so important to do the practices to reconnect,
Mhm.
to learn to cultivate safety. I actually have a freebie on my website, a guided meditation to learn to get back in the body and build that safety so that you can sit with yourself for a few minutes and actually tune in and hear
Mhm.
that little girl or little boy. I said back seat, right? Sometimes it's the
Mhm.
trunk. If you're someone that's experiencing depression, like I'm just so depressed, most likely that's how disconnected you are, that your inner child's in the trunk. You don't even hear it, nothing.
Mm.
And so when it starts to come online again, yeah, it could feel like a lot. And it could feel like a battle to even want to connect.
Right.
Just like if your son, if you put him in the trunk and a year later you're like, "Oh, oops." And you open that trunk, he's
Yeah.
not necessarily gonna run towards you and hug you and say, "Mommy, I missed you. I love you." He's gonna like tiptoe out and be like, "I don't know, but can I trust you?" And
Mhm.
so there's also the period of time when we go through healing of patience, of learning to feel safe to be with ourselves.
Yeah. And I know for me, in relearning that, it was my initial response to big feelings where I'm like, okay, something's coming up and it feels off or uncomfortable. It's like, but I'm busy. I'm doing something else. That's my initial still default. And then I have to go, wait a second. You need to sit with this and like identify what it is. And so it's still in my logical mind of like, okay, that's it, like inconvenient. Let's not deal with that. And then it's creating the space to sit with it. And because I know that about myself now, I can carve out the space to sit in it. And once I do, I'm always like, oh, so much better. And I feel like I've deepened this bond and connection to me. And it's rebuilding, like you said, rebuilding the trust with myself.
Yeah.
That's taken time.
Yeah.
Because if you self abandon, and I don't know if you want to go into this and what you've noticed about self abandonment, but that was for sure me. And so then to go back and really truly believe I can trust myself is it's been a journey to redevelop that. Like, and I've been doing this now like very intentionally for I don't know, at least 4 years of really putting focus and intention to reestablishing and like figuring out this whole relationship with me.
Hmm. Yeah, I think I mean, like, I've been on this journey a long time. There's still
Hmm.
layers that I uncover now, and so I see it more as a garden that if anybody has ever owned a garden, you know, the work never ends.
Yeah.
There's always something to tend to, and there's reward as well. And there's times when you say, ah, I don't want flowers anymore. Now I want vegetables, or I don't want vegetables anymore. I want flowers. And so seeing it
Yeah.
as that, like, as long as you're alive, like, you get to
Yeah.
choose to tend to yourself. And it's not about trying to create a perfect garden. It's about knowing that sometimes, as perfect as a garden is, you're so proud of yourself, a storm comes, a hurricane comes, snow comes, right? Something in life uh, triggers it. And what I mean by that as well is I'm old enough to know at 45 that life does not stop giving you challenges and opportunities for
Hmm.
growth. And it's not just about healing from things in our childhood and our past marriages and all that. It's about building that resiliency to know that whatever life hands me in the future, I can navigate it. I could be resilient through it. And so seeing it more as a forever relationship of I get to tend to this little girl.
Mm.
I get to tend to these parts, and that the more you do and really do it in a way where you are working with your nervous system, really, really actually feeling the feeling,
Mm.
the resiliency gets built and you do have more capacity. It doesn't continue to look the same. So my question to you, because you and I only uh, did some work
Yeah.
together at the retreat in my exercises that I gave you guys, but you've been in the somatic work for a few years.
Mhm.
Do you see the resiliency that you've built, the capacity that you have?
Yeah, because I think again, my now trusting that my body's going to do what it needs to. So I think my old would have been like, oh no, what's going to show up? I want to keep pushing it down because I don't know what's about to erupt. And now I know it moves and you can trust it. And it's like when you had us do that exercise of fully acting it out for 90 seconds, it's so true. And there's also been times where when I've given myself the space, and I usually start with like breathwork patterns to get myself in my body, that I've like convulsed like I'm having an exorcism. Okay. And if someone watched me, they'd be like, what is happening over there?
Yeah,
I look psycho.
yeah,
But in that, I'm just like, it can feel scary. It's like, what is happening to my body? But in letting it do it, it moves through. And at the end, it's another form of release. So the
it
same way
is.
you can feel like you want to cry or you want to be mad or you want to, whatever you want to act out. When my body does that, I really know I'm like, okay, that was all stored within me and it was moving energy. And sometimes I don't need to logically know what that was. My body knew exactly what to do.
Exactly.
And so
Yeah.
trusting it,
The body.
whatever flails start happening, like it's all perfect without judgment. Like the body wants to move it out. And so trusting it and allowing it to do that.
Yeah, so as someone that has seen thousands of sessions, I could tell you that the way that the body discharges energy, so
Yeah.
there's the obvious ones for some people of crying. Like my husband used to be like, "Why are you crying?" And be like, "I'm just moving energy." Tearing, sometimes it's just tearing, yawning, believe it or
Mhm.
not, yawning is a way.
That's a big one for me.
I mean, I've
Mhm.
had clients in a session, they will consistently yawn. It'll be like 40 yawns. They're
Yeah.
discharging. Burping, especially
Yeah.
if someone has stuffed something down and they finally stir it up, they finally open that bottle up. I've had a client burp for 24 hours.
Okay, wait, I have a question
Yeah,
because I don't burp.
yeah. Okay,
I'm a person who doesn't burp,
okay.
okay? And I'm like, I've always wondered, I'm like, then all of a sudden they've, in my recent times, like they've kind of showed up. Sometimes I'm like, that's really weird. Even my kids are like, what was that? Like, you don't burp. And I'm like, huh, I wonder if it's a release method that I never allowed myself to have. I don't know. Just a
Yeah, I
thought.
mean, I don't know. That's not not allowed, but I think there's ways that are more common for your body and
Okay.
your system. Like you said, you tremor. So another one is tremoring. And it's such a normal thing for mammals to do, for humans to do. But we have judged it like, oh my God, I'm shaking. Why am I shaking? And we think it's wrong. We stop it. Whereas if you've
Mhm.
ever witnessed a dog that just got scared,
Yeah.
they will shake. It's another way that the body discharges and releases the energy. And then, of course, yeah, a good cathartic scream sometimes is what's necessary as well. But yeah, and sometimes it just hot, cold flushes, your body temperature changing, it gets
Mhm.
discharged that way. So
Okay.
these are the ways that we get to allow our nervous system to, what I like to say, metabolize the energy. It's
Mhm.
metabolizing it.
Right. Okay. And for people who are listening, they're like, what do you mean metabolize? What do you mean move energy? Like, can you help explain that? Because there could be people listening who still don't maybe understand that emotions
Yeah.
are energy moving through your body. Like, do you want to kind of
Yeah, yeah,
explain that
yeah.
in the way
Yeah. So
for someone who could be new to that?
so your emotions are energy in motion when they are being expressed. It's energy. When it's being suppressed, which unfortunately we've learned a lot to suppress certain unpleasant emotions, or actually, let me take that back. Some people suppress the pleasant
Mhm.
emotions. They don't allow themselves to feel joy because they're waiting for the other shoe to drop. So, anyhow, when we suppress emotions, this energy gets stuck. And what I mean by stuck is your nervous system's always working for you. It's always listening for safety or danger or threat, right? Safety or threat. And when you signal to it something's not safe, and it could literally be like, I don't want to feel this. Uh oh, why am I feeling this way? Like a rejection of your experience, then it says, oh, okay, well, let me protect you from it. Let me put you into a protective state, which is our sympathetic state responses of fight, flight, freeze, or please. And you could see these as also similar to the patterns we just talked about. Leaving is kind of like flighting, pleasing is
Mhm.
merging, right? Fighting is being aggressive or even being rigid, being controlling in that way, or freezing, like the enduring part, right? Or enduring it. So it's a survival response, but we could get stuck in it. So it's working to keep you protected from this, which means it keeps you in that heightened state. And so you're no longer feeling the feeling, but the feeling is there. There's a separation from it because you're like in this bubble, protected from it, which is why people could say, like, oh, I've had this going on for years. I've been feeling this way for years. Or someone that is angry at their ex husband or something, like, or, resentful, and they could think that they're feeling it for years, but they're not actually feeling it. They are thinking about what they're feeling. They are verbally talking about what they're feeling. They are stuffing the feeling. They're judging the feeling. They're numbing the feeling. And so, what a lot of times what people think is, oh, I feel my feelings. I'm like, tell me, how do you feel your feeling? Is not that. You want to know what it is to feel a feeling? Remember when your son, or one, you have two sons, right?
Yeah.
Remember when they were like 2 years old, 3 years old? How would you know that they're feeling a feeling?
You know, they're screaming and hitting and running and
They're expressing
arms
it.
in the
It's
yeah.
it's it's like animated. It's a full body experience. You could tell that the energy is there. That they don't even have to have language yet,
Yeah.
and you could pick up on the frequency of how they are feeling.
Mhm.
And so we get to remember how to move our energy, which means feel our feeling. And there's been studies done that you can move through an emotion in 90 seconds if you're not judging it, if you're not running from it,
Mm-hmm.
then you are actually able to be with it and fully move through it. And if, again, same thing, watch a child that is having a big emotion, let them have it, love them through it by saying, it's okay, feel that, set a timer, bet you in 90 seconds they're done. Now, if they're not done in 90 seconds, it's because there's other emotions they're coming up for them. They're
Mm.
riding multiple waves. I love to use the metaphor of like you have an ocean of your emotions. And when you're in the ocean and a wave comes, you can't say to it, I didn't want this wave. I wanted a different one. I wanted a smaller one. You'll get smacked. And that's what's happening to us a lot right now is that we don't want to feel the things that we're feeling. But we
Right.
never make it back to shore then. We get snacked or we get stuck and I'm always anxious or I'm always angry or I feel like I need to, just free like I'm frozen. I can't do anything.
Mm-hmm.
And so starting to awaken that nervous system again and by working with it, by seeing that all your emotions are just energy and that if you knew and you actually believed that in 90 seconds you could metabolize it, wouldn't you want to? As opposed to sitting with it and running from it, numbing from it for days, weeks, months, years?
Years. Yeah.
Yeah. And so when we learn to see it as something that we're curious about and the steps and process for that, it's like noticing how you feel. Where do you feel it in your body? What's the physical sensations that are arising for you? And when you do that, you start to speak to the nervous system like, hey, notice these sensations with me. Sensations are the
Mm-hmm.
language of the nervous system. There's no judgment there. There's just like, it's in my chest, it's heavy, it's hot. It just is what it is. So right there, you're already saying, hey, 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 come look behind door number 2 with me. It's not
Right.
it's not a lion behind door number 2. It's actually safe. And so right there you're already creating this sense of safety in your system that you don't need to be protected from this thing. And then naming it, naming like, well, what am I actually feeling right now? Am I sad or am I disheartened or am I discouraged?
Mm.
And then giving yourself 90 seconds to act it out. I teach my clients to act it out as if they're looking for an Oscar winning performance. I was like, be animated. This is you as an actor. Be animated. It doesn't
Right.
matter if they're just like, but I don't quite feel it that strongly. Yeah, because we've trained ourselves to suppress. It is so foreign to us to express that we
Fully.
we get triggered when our child expresses. Why are you getting triggered? Because you don't give yourself that same permission.
Right.
So
Yeah.
90 seconds. What's the body language? What's the facial expression? What sound would you emote? Because when an actor goes in for an audition, there's 20 other actors there to audition. They all have the same line, same exact script. What's the difference? The energy they bring to it, how they act it out. So, same thing. You want to move your energy, you got to use your energy, not your mind,
Right.
not thinking about it, not talking about it. I'm guilty of that. I was like the worst at verbally, I was like verbal process, verbal, 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 talk, 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 talk about it. Merge with someone else, dump it on someone else.
Mm-hmm. Can we talk about that for a
Yeah.
second? There's a few things I want to talk about. First of all, because I've found so many people are open now to talk therapy, but sometimes going beyond that, they feel nervous about.
Mhm.
And I just feel there could be a time and a place for talk therapy, but eventually there's only so much talking you can do about something to actually process it. There's the feeling aspect that I feel like is what a lot of people are missing, and why for 5 years they could be going through the same loop with their therapist. And so I'm just curious what you found with some of your clients. And then if you want to also speak about what you've noticed maybe in people, because I know so many people who struggle with severe anxiety. And then, of course, there's so many people struggling with depression. And maybe just what you found, maybe in clients that you've worked with or experienced, things that help them, or like the commonalities that you've
Yeah.
noticed about the people who are living in that state most of the time. Not just like anxiety pops up sometimes or you feel depressed, like they're living in that
Yeah.
state. Yeah, what you found.
Yeah, absolutely. So, oh shoot, I forgot your first question. Ah.
Uh, what I know, what did I say? The anxiety, depression. The first question was the talk therapy
Oh,
portion.
yeah,
Like,
yeah. So I do think that there's a place for talk therapy, and I feel that it's in coming to awareness of things and what I call stage one of 5 stages of healing, which is what
okay.
I teach, coming into the awareness of stuff. So a client works with me, we're going to do a little bit of talking. We are. But
Yeah.
as soon as I identify something, I'm like, all right, put your wetsuit on. We're going in the ocean of your emotions. And so really knowing where to stop the talking and not make it just about that. And for some people, their talking is like really fast and storytelling, and it's you could see it's not they're not feeling it.
Hmm.
I think
It's like
yeah, yeah, yeah,
the loop
yeah,
is really quick. Yeah.
yeah. I think it's also good in like integration or once people have the tools, know how to ride the waves of their
Okay.
emotions, then it's a great place to have accountability and reflections of what blind spots you might not be seeing. But as far as like deep healing work, the only way to feel better is to get better at feeling. Like to heal it, you have to feel it. You have to, because otherwise you're exactly where I was for 10 years. And I wish I knew this in the beginning.
Yeah.
It didn't take me. I mean, right now, Carly, there's no excuse for people with the what's available to us for
Yeah.
healing modalities that were not around 20 years ago because Instagram wasn't around 20 years ago.
Right.
And but yeah, that's trimming the weeds. That's the surface. Why are people afraid to go deeper? Because they don't know how to cultivate safety because they can't
Mm.
just jump into it for the most part. I'm giving you guys the steps here. I don't expect everybody that listens to like go and, have a good
90
good
seconds.
90 seconds right now. They might
Yeah.
need my freebie, my cultivating safety meditation. You do that every day, you'll start to notice, oh, okay, maybe I can be with this. Or, you know what? It's okay if you can't in the beginning. That's why you hire a
Mhm.
coach.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
there's no shame in that. It's actually
I never could have got here alone. Like,
yeah,
even being comfortable sitting with the feeling. I had to sit one on one with a body worker who would help me identify where the feeling was, go into it, speak about what the memory was, make me feel what was coming up. And then I went there week after week after week
exactly.
until I got better at feeling like I could manage this and I could be like, okay, I can do this. And
Exactly.
then I went to Awaken, and then I met Danny, and then I went to Breathworks, and then it just was a ripple.
Yeah.
So
So if you're just
hire somebody.
exactly hire
Yes.
someone. That's a gift you
Yes.
give yourself. It's our responsibility.
Hmm.
Our parents didn't have this option. They didn't have the resources that there are today for the modalities that there are today. So we inherited a lot of their learning and traumas and experiences. But in this day and age, anybody
Hmm.
listening to this right now, just the fact that you could hear this on a podcast, uh, there's no excuse. There's just no excuse, and it's your opportunity to break that cycle, to end that generational trauma, and to give yourself the gift of that inner peace, inner freedom, that resiliency, to know yourself as a creator instead of
Hmm.
someone that is constantly stuck in survival.
Yeah.
Now, your second question, people
Yeah.
that are stuck in survival
Right.
constantly, whether it's anxiety or depression, again, it's the same formula. It's the same root thing for the most part. Yes, sometimes
Mhm.
depression is caused because there's some chemical imbalance. You're very vitamin D deficient and things like that, right?
Right.
So, yes, there are exceptions, but for the average person that is stuck in anxiety or depression, it's years of being in the back seat or the trunk. It's years of just not knowing how to tend to yourself. I know this because I lived with anxiety.
Mm.
And but my way of coping was to merge with other people. I mean, all my whole 20s was spent like that. I was constantly anxious if I was with myself. I needed
Mm.
to constantly distract myself with something because it felt like a windstorm into a hollow black hole in my chest. That as
Mm.
much as I tried to fill with other people, help, depending on others, it felt like a black hole that was constantly spinning. And I felt
Mm.
like that every day. So when I say I know what it's like, and that when I learned to hold myself, to give myself the nurturance I always wanted and needed from mom, to learn to
Mhm.
reparent myself that way, to let little not know it's okay. I'm here. You're safe. I feel you. I could be with
Mm.
this. I'm safe to feel this. Let me breathe with this. Let me be with this. Let me name the sensations that are there. As I started to do that, I started to fill that black hole with my love, my nurturance, and on the other side of that, experience that inner peace, inner freedom that I'd always been seeking. And that's when I was like,
Mm.
I gotta start getting this to other people. I want people to experience what I have today. And I wouldn't be here right now on this call
Right.
with you. I wouldn't have the capacity to coach. I didn't believe in myself then. I would collapse. I had years of failing in different careers and jobs because I didn't have capacity to. I was stuck like a 2-year old that didn't know how to go out into the world. Everything I felt fragile. Everything felt like, help me, say the damsel in distress. I was that.
Mm.
The
Okay.
damsel's
I love
anxious
that.
all the time.
Yes. Okay, I love that because that's so true. I'm just thinking that's that those things usually mesh. Like when you're the person that's high anxiety is always looking for the savior.
Hmm.
Like it's like somebody help, somebody help, somebody help. Where it's yeah, that person you're looking for is you. Yeah.
Yeah,
Like
the biggest gift.
but hire somebody to help you move through it so that you can realize that it's you.
Yeah, and then once you do, it's a lifetime of tending to that part and continuing to strengthen that relationship more and more and more. From
Right.
finding your voice to finding your boundaries to feeling safe to be vulnerable and open to people in the world. Like there's just so many opportunities to become the best versions of ourselves and therefore really share our gifts. Like
Mhm.
the gifts of the merging pattern, like I said, are we're the healers, we're the lovers. And I look at the thousands of people that I've impacted through my coaching as a healer and the content I've channeled through and created and the method that's come through me because that's the gifts of the leaving pattern. Like
Right.
if I didn't choose me and I didn't choose to do my work, I wouldn't be sharing my gift with the world right now. So, I think sometimes when people are so afraid to heal, those same people, I imagine, also feel a lack of fulfillment or purpose in their career, a full fulfillment or full fulfillment in their relationship. And if you're not going to do, if you're scared to feel it, remember that like the world wants your gifts. Everyone has gifts.
Mhm.
Everybody. Because those bodyguards, when you take the front seat back, you're not kicking them out of the car. You're putting them in the back seat and you get to use
Right.
them. You're in control. You tell them. That's when you're in the gifts of it.
Right. When you want to pull on them. I'm curious because I know you've been married now. Did you do this work before you met your husband?
Yes. Yes.
And then like take me through that, because I think for a lot of, I'm obviously a single mom now, so single people listen, and I feel like that could be valuable for people to hear too, of how important that journey is that you went on for
Oh,
you
yeah.
before meeting the person that you're able to still remain married to today, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. I was 37 when I met my husband, and he always jokes and says, "Babe, why didn't we meet when we were like 30?" And I look at him and I say, "Oh, honey, you would have not chosen me. You would have not wanted me then. I was such a hot mess. There's no
Yeah.
way we would have made it past the first date." And uh when we did meet prior to that, that summer, because we met in September, that summer before, mind you, I'd already been years in this work. So again, there's layers to it. And the next layer that got triggered for me was being at my brother's wedding. He was marrying my best friend of 30 years. They were having a baby, and I just felt like I'm all alone, and what if it's too late? What if it never happens for me? And
Mm,
I noticed how big of it, like, of how heavy that was on me, that I decided to go into it. Meaning, sometimes when you're ready to really feel
mhm.
something, convince yourself of the thing that you're afraid of, that it is happening, so that you could fully feel it. So I literally sat there and I was like, convincing myself that, like, it's too late, it's never going to happen. Let me look at my astrology chart. Oh, here's evidence why, and I'm not an astrologist, but like
Yeah,
looking
yeah.
for evidence everywhere why, like, it's never going to happen for me. I had to create my perfect storm to feel the thing that I fear the most, which is ending up never married, never having kids. And I remember when that belief came in for me, it was my first heartbreak, when my
Mm,
first boyfriend at 18 years old left me,
mhm.
broke up with me, started dating another girl. I remember saying to myself, because, we created the house, the picket
Oh, yeah.
fence, named the dog, all the things. And then that happens. And I remember saying, I'm probably never going to get married or have kids. And I casted myself with that spell. And I didn't realize how unconsciously for the next, 15, 20, 15,
Wow.
18 years, I was unconsciously living with that pattern. So here I am with that belief. So here I am finally facing that fear, feeling through all of it for like a good week and a half in Maui, mind you. Like, here I am in Maui, beautiful place, my brother's wedding, all that, and they live there. I'm staying with a friend, and I'm like, they're like, "You want to go to the beach?" And I'm like, "No, I'm tired today. I'm in my room fucking crying, like
Yeah.
feeling all the shit." But on the other,
Feeling it though,
feeling it,
going into it
going into
fully.
it. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not like grieving it as if it already happened, as if I was 60 years old, and like that's the reality. I
Right.
grieved it. And on the other side of it, I was like, okay, well, I've already experienced the thing I fear the most. Because here's the thing, whatever you fear, if it happens, what do you experience? A sensation,
Right.
except for death. Everything
Yeah.
else, it's just going to leave you with some sensation, some emotion.
Mm,
So let me feel that emotion now, so that I already know how to ride this wave. And so I remember on the
mhm.
other side of that being like, okay, all right, I felt through it. Now I'm not 60 yet, all right? I'm 37. Where am I in my own way of what I want?
Right.
And I was currently casually dating someone who was just a sweet guy, successful, great in bed, but I knew wasn't my person.
Mm.
And we weren't committed. We were just, casually sleeping together, you could say, right? And having fun
Yeah.
dates, having a fun time. And I realized, I was like, I know he's not my person, yet I'm giving him my energy and my time.
Right.
And I came home from Maui, and I had a conversation with him and I said, listen, this has been fun, but I am ready for my 100%. And this isn't
Right.
it. And I know it, and you know it too. And I've never been willing to cast that I get to have 100% now.
Mm-hmm.
And he said to me, well, we're not exclusive. So, like, if you meet, I'm like, I won't be hurt by it, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, well, that's nice and all. But out of respect for my future person,
Yeah.
I need to make room. It's like I
Mm-hmm.
felt it, right? And for the next 3 days, we were just like transitioning out because, again, it's comfortable, it feels safe. And I remember saying, Anat, don't be upset about the 40%, get excited for the 100. And when I left his place that Thursday, it opened up so much energy that over the next 2 weeks, I attracted 6 men into my life. 3 offline, like off the apps, and 3 on the apps. And the difference was that I was casting for 100%. And so every guy that I met, I was listening for, are they ready for 100%? How are they showing up with me? How are they asking me out, or what's the interaction? So I didn't waste time. It's like boom, boom,
Mm.
boom. And number 6 was my husband
I love it.
in two
Because it's
weeks.
so true though.
In 2 weeks.
Yes. And it's you, but it was you deciding like, no, I'm ready for 100, and like
I mean, I
I
could
know
have,
that I'm what
listen,
you
all
deserve.
those other 5 guys were great. I could have wasted another year with any of them, and another few
Right.
months with another one, and another. Like, how much time are you wasting with someone that
Right.
you know isn't it? Just because you don't fully believe that you can have what you want, and you'd rather be comfortable with that than be alone and end up only to realize that it's because of that. If I would have kept that pattern, I would have ended up never married, never having kids.
Right.
So that's how we got together.
I love that. Okay, I know we're close to the hour, but I feel like one final thing, if you want to touch on this, for people who are married, and obviously you guys are married,
Ah,
you're in this work. I find so many women come to me like, but I'm doing this and I'm learning, and like my husband isn't. How have you navigated being married? And is he, has he gone through this stuff to acknowledge his own stuff? Or like, what do you find with a lot of couples? And how can
yeah,
they move forward if they feel like one is doing the work and the other one isn't?
yeah,
And just like, what do you feel for that? Yeah.
yeah. So keep doing your work, and know that if this person stays with you, and or you choose to stay with them, like eventually you get to a point, like for me, someone that didn't have a voice, that was a constant pleaser and appeaser, that still showed up a bit in the first year of my marriage.
Hmm.
And when I realized that I'm doing this to myself, right, by continuing to explore myself, and started to speak up where normally I didn't want to rock the boat, is where he started to grow
Mm.
because I challenged him. So if you're a woman or a man and your default pattern is to please or appease, you got some healing work to do around that so that you can find your voice again and your power again. Because when you start speaking up into it, you won't be afraid of the repercussion of it. And the other person will either shape up or ship out,
Right. They either rise to meet you or they fall away.
or they
And
fall away. But
yeah,
I got me, that I don't
right.
need to merge with someone else. That's the most important relationship. And so I think in the beginning, yeah, we all want that when we start to do the work that they will do it with us too. And sometimes they're not ready, but you keep being that example. You keep shifting you, because eventually, as you shift, see, everything's occurring in your reality. Your life is a movie. And if you actually believe that you're the creator, then you are
Mhm.
casting people to play in your movie and to play certain roles, and you're playing certain roles. But if you work on yourself and you shift your role from, let's say, being a people pleaser to being someone that respectfully asserts her boundaries, her needs, her no, expresses herself. You put that character in a scene with another person, they have to match it or
Mm.
they exit.
Right.
And so, not to say that, oh, it's okay if the person never does the work, but there's so much transformation that could occur in a relationship with just one person taking the lead on changing their
Right.
script and changing the scenes. And for a
Right.
while, it's messy because, again, you enter the scene playing a new role, and the other person's like, what's going on here? And they want to try and pull you back to who you were before, especially if it was comfortable for them. And you got to learn to be with the discomfort. And this is what I mean by build your capacity first.
Mm-hmm. So true. Well, and just trusting that you initiating yourself could initiate them.
Yes.
And then I also feel like, especially if this is new or you've just been on it, but you've been with this person forever, like you got to give this person grace and time too to rise to meet you. If it's completely brand new and if this version of you is new and if this work is new, I find, and then if you're meant to be, they'll come around and you guys will learn to meet each
Yeah.
other.
Yeah. And most importantly, I'll say this that don't point a finger. Where you want somebody else to change is where you're giving your power away. If you really
Mm,
take on that everything is a simulation occurring in my movie, that I really can create, not from a place of like manipulation or control, but just in
mhm,
mastering my energy, my emotions, my frequency, and showing up as my highest self, not my patterns.
mm.
Oh, watch the amount of shifts that happen. Not overnight, over time. Yeah. So
Right.
take responsibility, take ownership. And sometimes when we take responsibility and take ownership of ourselves, we realize we don't want to be with the person. That
Right.
happens too.
And it's accepting that also as a potential.
Yes, and
I
one
don't know.
I mean look, that was your story, your
Yeah.
journey. And
Yeah.
looking back now, you're like probably so
It was so needed.
so needed.
All
You're so
so
proud of
needed
yourself.
for both of us.
The best thing, best, most challenging mountain that you've climbed, but the view from the top was worth it.
Mhm.
So,
And of course, it's not, no one wants to be married or in a relationship and have it end. That's not the picture perfect, right? But trusting that if that's part of your journey, that it's going to initiate you into, like for me, it was, what do I really want?
mhm.
And then getting and being okay saying what I really wanted and knowing my needs were not being met in that relationship. And you can love the person, but if your needs are not being met, you have to be willing to get honest about that. Give them the chance, obviously, to like you said, would you, okay, so if it was my situation, we go back, it would be expressing my needs in a, not in a like, you don't do this and you don't do that, but like once I acknowledge and I can see where I've self-abandoned, where my needs are not met, where I feel all the things, it's like being open and honest, I'm sure, in your marriage, like communicating. And then, like
Yeah,
you said, it's once you know how to use your voice and communicate and ask for what you want. And it's on both of you now to see, like, can you make that work together? Right?
absolutely. And giving it time and knowing that sometimes when you
Yeah.
initiate that conversation, that the other person is going to be defensive because our egos are
Yeah.
sensitive. And
Yeah.
to be okay being in the muck, being in the mess of it, as long as you are not hurting the other person and you're standing up for yourself, sometimes you got to be willing to slay that dragon in that way. I mean, my husband and I were in it with something just this past Saturday where I expressed something I've never expressed before. And his initial reaction was like, not like getting defensive in some way about it. But last night same kind of scenario came up and I could tell he got what he gave me what I needed. He got the
Mm,
learning from it. And I'm like, okay, see there's the integration. So
yes.
giving grace and time to integrate it. And, if you're blaming the other person,
Mhm.
this is what I want to say. If you don't know what you want, then you
Mhm.
need to go discover yourself first.
Yeah.
Not, I'm not happy. He needs to change or she needs to change. But like, do I know what makes me happy? Do I know myself? Know
Mm,
yourself fully.
right.
Because choosing to leave a marriage, yeah, and then discovering yourself afterwards is like, oh man, I've had people that I've worked with that are like, oh, I wish I did this. I probably, I could have saved that marriage.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
if you're hearing this and you're in it and you're thinking of exiting, have you looked fully under your
Right.
hood and in your trunk?
Right. Totally. Oh, this was so good. Where can people find you? How can people find you? Obviously, I will link your freebie, the meditation that you mentioned. But if people want to work with you or like get connected with you, how can they do that? And maybe like what do you offer when it comes to working with you?
Yeah, so I hang out on Instagram. So if you follow me there, I message every new follower, because I love getting to know the human behind the follower and seeing what resources I have for you. If you're interested in my work, trainingcampforthesoul.com. And a lot of my focus right now is into my certification program, mentoring other coaches and healers in my method. But I do still also take on a few select one-on-one clients. And I
Okay.
also have a virtual program where the Soul Collective, where people can, unlearn what they learned, go through their inner child healing collectively. And there's so much collective healing that happens. It's such a
Right.
gift in that way too. So, yeah.
I love that.
And then I have a bunch of coaches I've trained. So people are like, I want to work one on one, and I can't take them on for whatever reason. I'm like, I have a bunch of amazing trained coaches that I could refer people to.
I love it so much. Just thank you so much for being here. This was such a good conversation and offered me so much reflection, even for myself. So thank you. And thank you for doing this work and training other people so that everyone can kind of learn this stuff because it's so, so helpful and then gives you the tools to notice with awareness what's coming up in you so that you can have language around it and hopefully improve your relationships because of it.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you
I
for
love it.
having me on. Thanks,
Thank
listeners, for
you.
tuning in, sticking with us to the end.
Yeah. Amazing. Thank you so much. Have an amazing day, you
Okay.
guys.
Bye.
Bye.